Hey guys, KUZO here, back with another video, and in this video today we're going to be doing another installment of my redesign series where we take a character from one story and redesign them to fit into another story or theme. The design that we're going to be doing today is Steampunk Yu-Gi-Oh! This is one I've been thinking about doing for a while now because I thought it would be really fun to incorporate his dual disc into this, and a lot of the mechanical stuff can easily be transferred into something more steampunk like, because with a whole lot of other characters they don't have all sorts of mechanical parts to their design, like for example Naruto or Sasuke, so you have to kind of give them steampunk fashion. But as for this, I can take, Yu-Gi-Oh's dual disc and kind of steampunk it up. That way I feel like I don't really have to over steampunk design the whole fashion aspect of Yu-Gi-Oh! Because I can't put steampunk goggles on every single steampunk character I do, even though they do look cool. I just really like drawing goggles in general, I guess. But now let's talk a little bit about the illustration. So one of the things I wanted to keep in mind when going to draw this position was I just wanted to have it be a pretty standard position, but I wanted him to have that ready to dual look with the cards in his hand and stuff like that. And one thing I wanted to make sure was the dual disc was one of the main focuses of the illustration, other than the character's face. And one of the reasons why I wanted the dual disc to be one of the main focuses was, other than the fact that when he normally has it on, it is a pretty big focus a lot of the time because it's just a cool contraption. But other than that, one of the reasons why I wanted to do it was because, like I mentioned earlier on, is that it's going to be heavily steampunk designed. Since it's a mechanical item, I can do a lot of steampunk stuff with it, so it's going to really be able to help that steampunk vibe with the overall illustration. Now we're actually going to design the dual disc out, and we're just kind of designing the portion that is actually connected to his arm right now. I didn't really know exactly what direction I wanted to go with it, but I knew I wanted it to be a lot more bulky, and I just kind of put like a circular portion in the middle that I knew was going to be a lot of like gear-esque stuff, which I'm kind of putting in the detail for that right now. And the rest of it, like I said, I wanted it to be a little bit bulky, so I put those two huge like notches to the left and the right of the middle piece with those gears. And one of the things I always look forward to when going to draw these kinds of steampunk designs is being able to draw like a bunch of gears and bolts and stuff like that. And that little design I did down towards his hip is just kind of like a box that maybe he holds, other cards in, or anything else like that he wants to hold stuff in. And I just thought it'd be fun. But when I was actually drawing it, I realized it kind of looked like something that would hold a Magic Night book, and I was like, I'm going to keep it anyways. I don't care. It's basically what I was trying to design for it was this wooden box with these metal strips that go across it that kind of look like windows, but they're not windows. It's like a box, and like the kind of old-fashioned briefcase almost. We got back to the dual disc, and one of the things I like to do with illustrations like this, where there's something I know that's going to be a lot more difficult in the illustration, I typically try not to put that off to the end, because then you kind of dread the end. So one of the things I like to do is go in head first and do the hardest thing first, which in this case was the dual disc. Because other than it being more mechanical and have to be a little bit more accurately drawn, but it's also one of the things that have the most redesign to it, and I wanted to make sure it didn't feel too off and it actually felt like it could fit into a steampunk universe. So that way, once I'm finished with the biggest portion, I can relax and kind of just design and draw the rest of the whole illustration and not really have to worry about the hardest part of the illustration. And one of the little things I did with the middle piece with all those gears is I put some clock hands on it as if it's like a clock or something. And I don't know, it's just a fun little design. Doesn't mean it actually has to have anything to do with the dueling process, but who knows, maybe it does. Thing I was thinking about a lot when I was doing the dual disc design was if I was going to put like pipes in there that would be steaming, or parts of it that would be steaming, and I decided against it because I didn't want it to be too muddled. And one of the places I thought about having steam come out of was the little section in the middle with the gears and the clock hands. So I thought about having a little bit of steam coming out of that portion, just to help the aesthetics of everything, and show that maybe there's some mechanics working underneath through steam power. I was thinking about that. I wanted to wait until making that decision until a little bit later on, because I didn't want everything to be too busy. Because if you make little decisions like that as you go too much without thinking about the final product, you might end up muddling everything up. So I'm glad I waited, because the way things started to go in the end, I was like, you know what, I don't really think I need steam there. Mostly because I'd already decided where I was going to put steam in other parts of the illustration, so I wasn't sure if I really needed it or not. Right now we're moving into some of the last little details for the dual disc before I really wanted to move on to the rest of the illustration at this point. There's little things I didn't want to forget to add into the dual disc that I had in mind, and I knew if I moved on to other parts of the illustration, I definitely would have forgot about them. And now that I'm finished with that dual disc and moving on to the rest of the design, you can really see that just doing that dual disc alone really kind of pushed it towards that steampunk, theme already. The rest of it was kind of just picking and choosing things from the original design to somewhat alter into a steampunk theme. It's like this wristband that we're doing here, but the wristband already had a buckle on it that Yu-Gi-Oh has, and buckles are a big part of steampunk design as well as like buttons and stuff like that. So I decided to put a little bit of bolts and an edge to this wristband. When actually finishing that wristband, I felt like it looked a little bit more goth than it did steampunk, but I was like, it might just fit into the design as we move along, So I left it as is, and it ended up kind of falling in place pretty well as I was moving along. So we moved on to the neck area, and one thing about the collar was I wasn't sure if I wanted to have it be a collar like Yu-Gi-Oh's collar, because the whole jacket would be too reminiscent of Yu-Gi-Oh's already, which is a good thing, but I also didn't want it to be too much just like we put on Yu-Gi-Oh's jacket and then changed his dual disc. But I changed a little bit of the design of the jacket in general, but all in all, the kind of shape design of the whole jacket stayed relatively the same because I just like it so much. With that bottom part of his jacket that kind of just defies gravity and just shoots outward. I really like that part of the design. You guys have heard my gripes about blackouts with pencil, and I don't really like to do heavy blackouts with pencil because they're such big areas, but I decided to go a little bit lighter with the blackouts and shading with the pencil for the jacket, but I planned for the top part to have a lot more white sections and then the bottom part to be a lot more solid blacks, and that kind of just sells the illusion of there being a lot more light that's actually reflecting towards the top part of the image. Now we're moving on to Yu-Gi-Oh's hair, which, by the way, his hair is super crazy. It's so absurd, but it works so darn well. This is just a really good example of shape design and being able to use symmetry and asymmetry to your advantage, and also just directional elements to it with also contrast, because the directions of these bangs and those yellow parts that kind of point outward from his face that have a lot of contrast against that kind of maroonish black back part of his hair. It just works so well and really makes them pop. There's a lot about the kind of facial area and the hair that really intrigues me about Yu-Gi-Oh's design, because the hair ratio to the face, it's really interesting because the hair is so much bigger than everything. It seems like it wouldn't work, but it works really well. And honestly, I could probably go on for days about how it works and why it works, but we're not going to do that here. And also there's something I drew a little bit earlier while I was talking, but I didn't mention it, was the neck piece. I decided to change to a chain and a lock there instead of a belt buckle that was originally there. It was just something that I thought would be fun to change up. Get it? Chain? Oh god. Horrible puns, KUZO. I know guys. Anyways, time to move on. So I've been pretty much drawing the hands and the cards this whole time, and these hands, I was really excited to do them because I like these kind of sprawled out hands, because you can kind of put in these little shades that really show the definition of hands, and I knew that was going to be really fun to do, and I was looking forward to doing the cards because the back of the cards are pretty simple. There's just an oval and then a border. So that was fun to do as well. I thought about changing the designs of the cards, but I wanted to keep it close to, Yu-Gi-Oh, and having the cards stay the same. Though I could have put some sort of like gear element in there, which would have been cool, but guess what? I didn't. Now that we're a little bit into the video, I thought I'd mention how I changed the camera angle of how I record my videos. I'm sure many of you probably already noticed this because I pretty much use the exact same camera angle on all my videos, and this is definitely a big switch up. So basically I found a way to be able to record directly above my illustration, and I thought I would give it a shot because, you know, the other ones you see it a little bit distorted, and I thought this might be fun as if you're kind of looking directly above it. I thought it'd be something fun and see how you guys like it. By the way, definitely let me know how you guys like it in the comment section. If you guys want to see more videos that are kind of recorded in this angle, or if I should go back to my previous recording style. And also, just quickly, I'll mention the materials I'm using. For those of you who are wondering, it's just a bristle board, a smooth bristle board paper, and then a disposable Bic mechanical pencil 0.7. Yeah, so now we're pretty much in the shading portion of the illustration, and one thing that I wanted to try with that was making a lot of the shaded areas very angular and sharp. And I mostly tried that on the pants, and I ended up really liking how the pants shades came out, so that was fun. I did kind of like some darker ones and then some very light overtone ones. And with the shading on this right hand sleeve, I didn't want to go too detailed. I wanted to make sure it was a lot darker than the left hand sleeve, because it's just, I didn't want there to be too much focus over there, because there didn't need to be focus over there. So I'm kind of just doling out any detail that would be in there and just making a lot darker and a lot more black. Pretty much at this point in the illustration, we're just putting in all the little details and black parts that I haven't put in yet across the whole drawing. This is one of the very few illustrations that actually saved the face completely till last, so I pretty much have most of the whole illustration done except for the whole top part with the head and the eyes and the hair. And I guess you could say subconsciously I was kind of saving this part of the illustration till last because it was one of the parts of the illustration that I was looking forward to the most. But at the same time, I was a little conflicted because, like I've mentioned before, I don't like doing huge solid blackouts, and I knew that's what was going to happen with the back of the hair. But I ended up working with it and doing it in a way that I liked it, and I pretty much just blacked out the whole thing with a little bit of shade variance inside of it. And I also put those shades on the face to kind of sell that hard light that's coming at him and hitting that sleeve right next to him as well. We're actually about to start the blackouts on the hair, and one thing I always asked myself was how to make blackouts with pencil look good without, you know, trying to just completely just slather it with the pencil, because that just takes forever. So I pretty much just decided to shade with a pretty decent pressure all in the same direction. And if you go in a different direction, it ends up feeling a little weird, and you can actually see it within the pencil shading. So if you shade in a bunch of different directions, it kind of makes that shading feel off. Yeah, in any case, if you guys want to help support my artists, help support what I do on this channel, you guys can check me out on my Patreon, link in the description. But I'd like to take this time to thank my current patrons. You guys are the best pencil nobbies there are and help me be able to do what I do on this channel. I'd like to take this time to give a special thanks to my Chunin and Jonin tier patrons. You guys are truly awesome, and thank you guys very much. Also, I don't want to forget those guys who have made it to the end of this video. You guys are awesome and help be able to be the bloodline to help this channel keep taking. So you guys are awesome, and thank you for watching my content. But in any case, if you guys like this video, please hit that thumbs up button. And if you're new to this channel, like what you see, please subscribe. Hit the bell icon to get notified when each video comes out. And like always, guys, hope you're having a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next video.